Welcome. I'm Sharon Tapper. I'm the Executive Director of the Music Managers Forum US. Appreciate you joining us today. If you're new to the MMF-US, we welcome you. And if you've joined us in the past, welcome back. If you're not familiar with our work, here's a little bit of background. We are a trade association for artist managers and self-managed artists in the US. We are registered 501c6, not-for-profit, and we rely on the support of our members and the generosity of our sponsors to provide our programming throughout the year nationwide. If you aren't already a member, please consider becoming one. It's super easy. Just go to our website, click on the apply button, if I could say the word button, and just go there and apply. New members have a discount, so just put in, literally it's there, just put in new member and you'll get a 50% discount for your first year. We offer many different ways in which to successfully navigate the industry. And we do that in a number of core foundational ways. We offer education, networking, and advocacy. Those are our foundational principles of the organization. We do educational webinars like today, where we support managers and artists for providing them with continuous professional development in an ever-evolving industry. And certainly mental health and health at large is really important, and it's easy for us to forget to look after ourselves and those around us. So it's really important that we take care of this aspect as well as the business, and that's why we're here today. We also do a lot of advocacy, so we provide a collective voice to lobby and affect policy change for a fairer, more transparent industry, and then we provide networking so people can connect virtually in a setting like this, or in person where we do community meetups. We have 8 chapters nationwide. They all do meetup events. We also have all-day summits. We have our New York Summit coming up on Monday, which is exciting for that to be nearly upon us. Lots of work, but exciting. And it's really in those moments where we all get to learn, share, and connect with one another and provide ourselves with people who are either in similar situations or people we can mentor and teach, or we can learn from as well. It's this ever-evolving dynamic of learning. We are also part of a larger organization. We're part of the International Music Managers Forum, and that represents 65 other MMF organizations around the world. That's in Europe, Latin America, Asia, Australia, and Africa. So we can also connect on a global level with different opportunities that exist. Anyway, down to business. We're here to talk with LJ Malberg of CoMuse, and we're here to talk with Ace Patterson. So I'm going to hand the floor over to them, and please, we're just excited for you to be here and to learn from you and navigate all the emotional minefields that exist in a lovely industry.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, and thank you to MMF-US for hosting us today. This is really exciting to be together. And for all of you who are tuned in right now, please do introduce yourselves, because we want to make sure that towards the end of this conversation, we can have a dynamic, deeper conversation and be able to serve you with any questions that you might have, so that you are coming out of this conversation feeling inspired and clear about what your next steps might look like. A little bit about me. I'm LJ, and I am the CEO and founder of CoMuse, which is a creative platform for creative professionals and entrepreneurs in music, media, and the arts, for people who want to come together and practice better work in the way that we communicate with one another and the way we treat ourselves. So it's deeply steeped in social fitness, emotional intelligence, interpersonal communication skills, the practice of coaching, being coached and coaching others, and doing it in safe spaces where we can feel really good and come into our own confidence about our own paths, and then taking it out into our careers, into the real world, and practicing it in real life with even more success tools. So that's a little bit about me. I've been in the industry for many years. I've worn many hats, including management. I did manage an artist way back in the day, an international dance artist. And that was an amazing experience in and of itself. I myself am an artist. I'm a vocalist, jazz singer, and a Brazilian jazz singer. And in wearing all of these hats and along my path, I was very blessed to cross paths with the man that you are looking at on the screen, Ace Patterson, who I now am very fortunate enough to call a friend and a collaborator. And I would like you, Ace, to come in and introduce yourself and share a little bit about your path. But I just want to thank you here and share how deeply grateful I am to have you in my life. Thanks.
Equally grateful, LJ. Now this is dope. The way that life works. What's good, y'all? Ace Patterson. My stage name is Call Me Ace, very verbatim. Um, I used to do music when I was a kid, then I stopped doing music. Um, I was at Columbia University, got to open up for Snoop Dogg after like starting a hip hop group there, but then I didn't like rapping, so I stopped making music. I had a different rap name back then. I went to business school at UC Berkeley in California, which is how I ended up in California from Bridgeport, Connecticut slash New York, New York. And right when I was about to graduate and start work as a consultant, strategy operations consultant at Deloitte, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was like, "Yo, do you know how to rap anymore? Is that something that you're interested in? Do you still want to do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I still know how, but I'm about to have a full-time job. I'm about to get married. I'm about to have real money and healthcare. Like, why do I want to be an artist?" And he was like, "Well, all those reasons that you said you could still be an artist and all of those different points you just mentioned can just be topics that you can rap about." And I was like, man, well, I don't even have a rap name anymore because the rap name that I had before was something that as a grown 25, 26-year-old guy, I did not want to use. And so he was like, well, what does Instagram say? And it said, call me Ace because Ace is my name. And he was like, boom, that's your rap name. So I reemerged back into music. I share all that to say that I reemerged back into music as an artist, but also as somebody that was very much fresh out of business school, working a white collar job. And my mindset as an artist was less about, oh, let me like make music for music's sake. That was there. I still love music. It's a passionate thing. But I was awakened to the fact that there's a whole business side of music that I knew nothing about when I was in college, when I was in high school, that I was way fascinated about. Everything from copyrights and publishings, PROs, and booking my own shows, pretending to be a booking agent and an artist manager, and then the guy would show up in the background and give me the money, and he was like, "Wait, aren't you the artist?" And I was like, "Yeah, and I'm, that name that I used was not my name." um, and just handling all of those the business side of doing this music stuff while at the same time having a full-time job. So I worked at Deloitte, then I worked at Facebook on the consumer marketing side. So I got to see how marketing works at a tech company, which I then transferred that knowledge into my music life. And then from there, I worked at YouTube on the music partnerships team. So I saw a lot and also got to leverage those learnings as well as an artist. And I was there while the pandemic was happening. So a lot of the stuff around like, the subscriptions and the stickers and live shows and all the different initiatives that were being cooked inside of YouTube, really getting to see that, be a part of that, both as an employee and as an artist. Got to do fun stuff, headline shows, be in commercials, music and video games, Billboard chart, trying to figure it out, right? Like just not signed to anybody, very much using the money that I had in the corporate world to fund my business, just trying to navigate my own path. And in the midst of that, I'm also a big gamer, big trading card player. I'm a nerd. Don't let the chains and aviator glasses fool you. And I just got really obsessed with this idea I had where I was like, yo, what if instead of creatures and magicians, like how Magic, The Gathering, or Yu-Gi-Oh, and most trading card games are built around. It's like, what if instead of that, it was hip hop artists with superpowers? And that was it. That was enough to get me obsessed. I ended up building a game idea, which is now called Five Mics. We're building a mobile first hip hop trading card game. I left YouTube, went into the Techstars music program, and now I'm founder CEO of a game company that intersects in between music. I still do music, but building this ecosystem where we are building this multiverse of our own IP and working with real artists and producers in a way that just hasn't been done before is very much what I've been obsessed with as of late. So it's my full story in a nutshell.
May I just admire you? That is some journey, my friend. My goodness.
It's a
And
wild one.
I hear so many zigs and zags, but it's just a continuous building of blocks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That the foundation, it's even the pivots are like it couldn't have happened without the blocks before them, right?
Totally. Totally. Yeah,
Beautiful.
no opportunity or no experience that I've had has been wasted for sure. Even as my first love growing up was drawing and creating my own comic books and stuff like that as a 2-year old. And that led into acting out these imaginary stories, pretending to be Disney characters and then being on stage and then writing story arcs and then being a poet. And then it wasn't cool being a poet in middle school. So then I became a rapper and like, being on stage, like being an artist for me is really just being able to do all of those things like at the same time, right? Like getting to perform on stage, writing poetry over music, doing the artwork for I literally made the majority of my artwork for my albums. Just really being able to do all of the creative things, but just under this like music hip hop umbrella, right? But yeah, no, it's wild and definitely like I don't know if my experience would have been the same if I didn't do the corporate life or if I didn't go to business school, or if I didn't have my homeless experience sleeping on floors and doing unpaid music internships at the bottom of Manhattan and couldn't even afford to go back to Connecticut. Like all of it has helped.
I'm pulling out a theme here, but there is a genuine through line here. It sounds like from your beginning, from when you were a young child, of entrepreneurship. This
Yeah.
this interest in wearing many hats, which entrepreneurs must do. We
Yeah.
must, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Not everybody's like that. There are plenty of people out there that are fully comfortable wearing one hat,
Right.
but that spirit you have. When did you notice coming up that, it started to take form in a way that you could define it as you're a boss?
Yeah. 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 And it's funny too, because then and this is why hip hop artists as superheroes is not that far-fetched of a concept because all rappers rap with this alter ego, like larger than life, flying, bulletproof, I'm a alien, I'm a, divine being, all that kind of stuff, right? So like I've definitely like rapped about being a boss just because like that was how I felt, paving your own path. And I have a song called No Assistance where literally there's a part in the song where I talk about how like, you know, a promoter would try to like sell me on exposure and it's like, I can book the venue, greet the people walking in and kill the show, shake hands, sell merch, close out the show and do more than break even all in the same time and I have like receipts of that, right? So like that sense of like oh, I can do all of these different things and not have to depend on anyone to do it for me. It's a combination of a few things. Like my dad didn't go past the 8th grade. I'm a Jamaican immigrant, first generation. My dad didn't go past the 8th grade, but is very much a hustler and has built a lot of stuff with his bare hands. My mom, super dreamer, and I definitely thought it was normal to like my household growing up. My parents were divorced, but like living with my mom, my older sister, younger brother, like we would all do like five different things at the same time. That's just like how we were engineered. We've performed for many talent shows that we've practiced for many talent shows that we've never actually like done. We've just lived in this like, we're gonna be the Jackson 5 one day kind of thing. So it was like that's how we grew up, right? And it just very much was like, oh yeah, like I can do this, do this, do that, do this, do that, do that. And I just thought that's what other people did. My wife jokes that like, we've been married for 8 years as of last week. And the inside joke in our house is like every day I'll wake up and be like, oh snap, like I want to do this, or yo, I could do that, or right. It's just and like the as I get older and now I have two kids, like for me, the challenge is actually like focusing and like just doing right? Not because I can't do it all. I very much believe I can do it all. And like, who's to say that I can't do it all? And I wasn't supposed to be alive after I was born, right? Like they said, I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. And, they said I wasn't going to make it. And so like, I made it. And it's like, from that moment, it's just like, what can't, you know what I mean? And all glory to God. I don't like boast in my own efforts because I don't know what the future holds, but like, if we were made in the image of the creator, then why can't I create? And growing up, being from the hood, but like being in environments where like people like me shouldn't be in, and yet I'm there, and yet we're killing it. It was just always like, okay, like go far. Like my parents would just be like, go as far as you possibly can. And my life is literally further than anything that me living around has ever seen. And so like the path that since I've passed the eighth grade, like everything has been not what anybody around me has seen. And so for me, it's less about like, okay, me trying to follow somebody. Like I never had a blueprint, right, LJ? And so like for me, it's really just like, okay, well, what is it that I want to do? And that usually you have your dreams, you have your like creative gifts, right? But then it's like you have the environment that you're living in. And so just to your point, like I've very much like every step was a very not like I planned it kind of intentional step, but when the step came and I took it, it was like, okay, I have to like understand every single crevice of this step so that it can increase the opportunities for whatever that next step is. And so it's like, I'm thankful for like my time at Deloitte, though it wasn't very long and I was very aware that I did not want to be there forever. I learned so much during that 2 year sprint that like I have no regrets of leaving, right? Like that chapter's done, nothing left on the table. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And by the time, let's see, in 2019, my aunt passed away in 2018. She was the one that introduced me to hip hop from an early age, like gave me a Snoop Dogg album, and I fell in love as a child. And she passed away and it meant a lot. I was very emotional. And so I made an album called Airplane Mode within the week that she died because I was just like, I couldn't focus and have a creative outlet. And that's really what being a creative is for me. And I was like, okay, I want to honor her with this, and I want to hit the Billboard chart with this, right? And have no idea what that means. I have no guidance, no background, whatever. But I figure out, right? I'm doing my research. I'm understanding, like, okay, it's album sold, and this is like in the post CD era. So it's like, how am I going to support and like do these things, right? Finding those people that were down for the mission to like help us do that. It was like stuff like that, like realizing, like, okay, like having the plan, but then having the action, but then doing it. Like it's not enough to dream. You literally have to work. And so, my mom's delusional dreaming, my dad's relentless work ethic, like living in me at the same time. It's like, all right, bet, dream big, but work hard. And when I realized, like, all right, bet that's what it is, and like an extra layer of prayer for sure. I mean, it's just been like, bet, let's do it. Let's go.
Uh, there's so much good stuff in there, Ace. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, yeah, it's what it is, right? It is the combination of big dreams and hard work. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's very, yeah. I like for all my my artists and artist manager friends, right? Like it's like we all want to blow up. We all want to blow up, but like you one have to understand what that actually means. Not everyone's blow up is the same. Not everyone's path is the same. I was very aware. It was when I said I was going to go back into music and I was going into Deloitte, you know, the only frame of reference I had was that John Legend also worked at Boston Consulting Group for a year and then got signed to Good Music and then became John Legend. I was like, okay, bet that'll be me. That right? That's the blueprint, you know. And it was very similar too when I went to Columbia and they were like, oh, Lauryn Hill went to Columbia University for a year and then became Lauryn Hill. I was like, I bet, you know, that's and like I always thought like if they did it that way, that will be exactly my path. And then, you know, Facebook happened. I was like, okay, this is a little different. But what was interesting at Facebook was like, you know, and this wasn't by design, but it was just like, okay, Facebook owns Instagram. So as soon as you work at a place like Facebook, everybody follows you on Instagram because it's public knowledge internally. And I don't have like a artist Instagram account or a and you know separate from my personal, like it's all the same. So people at work saw that I was a rapper, like my boss saw that I was a rapper and was like, "Oh snap, let me hear your music," liked my music, and then ended up having a situation where I had fans at work of my music and like, you know, things like hitting the Billboard chart happened because people at Facebook were buying my album. And so like though that was not my plan, I looked and I was like, "Oh snap, my job that I spend 8 hours a day is also the place where I market my album the hardest." And especially because it's like tech world, I'm dressed like an artist, I'm talking like an artist. It's very like I'm wearing my merch, you know? And so like all of a sudden I was like, okay, I didn't go the John Legend route, but this is the Call Me Ace route. And so like very much like what does success mean to you and navigating that for me personally has actually like, you know, to the conversation about like emotional wellness, like it gave me so much more peace when I realized I'm not trying to run other people's race. Let me understand what my race is. Let me understand what my resources are. We all have what we need to run our own race. So instead of thinking and obsessing so much about what you don't have, really understand what you do have. And when I understood like what I do have, I realized, yo, I got a lot. It doesn't look like what that person has, and theirs looks like a lot in a different way, but I have a lot in a certain way, and it's up to me to use that in the way that makes sense for my journey. And so yeah, like that's just my my quick advice for you know my artists and artist manager friends is like, especially in 2024, there's just so many different ways to reach your goal, but it has to make sense for you and your path. Like everything, somebody will be like, blow up on Reddit, blow up on TikTok, blow up on Facebook. Like there, whatever makes sense for you is what you need to do. But you have to like have that self-awareness to understand what actually makes sense for you. And some of it comes down to what you're actually willing to do. Like, you know, I wasn't willing to, man, I'm sorry, LJ. One more story and then I'm gonna stop talking.
Oh
I
no, keep it
I
coming,
was,
Abe. Keep it coming.
I bet. So when I was fresh, when I was like fresh as a Deloitte consultant, and um I'm doing music outside of that, and I'm going to a studio. This is before I like bought my own equipment because I was like, it makes no sense. Why am I spending $75 an hour for somebody to hit the R button? I'll just do it myself, which is a very like call it entrepreneurial, call it, you know, saving money, call it like whatever you want to call it. But I was like, this makes no sense. But at the time, as I was doing it, there was this like famous Bay Area artist that was like scheduled to come meet me, and he was supposed to meet me at like 7 and didn't show up till 10. And I had work in the morning, and like, you know, some people would have, I have friends that would have sacrificed the job the next day and like, you know, pander and rub shoulders and all kind of stuff until like 2 a.m. with this artist. For me, I was like, yo, that's disrespectful. I was like, you couldn't do that at a professional job. And so like I left. And that's just what I did, you know, and you know, I see this famous artist with other famous artists that I would have loved to meet through this artist. And like sometimes I think about it, but most of the time I'm just like, nah, I probably would have done the same exact thing, you know, because like that's just the way that I move. That's the way that I work. That's the way that I operate. And I want to respect you just as much as I want to receive respect. And so if I feel disrespected, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your role or your title is. And I often find that like I have a lot of friends in the music industry that like you know they throw their own ethics and morals to the side in order for what, for clout, for fame, for money. It's like that's how you get taken advantage of. And I refuse to be taken advantage of by people that think that they can lord whatever status or power over me. And you know that served me pretty well, I feel.
That is, it's such a good call out because, cachet, while it is often confused, with intrinsic value. Cachet is marketing, and
Yeah,
you know, it
I
is
love that.
so beautiful that you have such a strong sense of healthy boundaries about, you know, what you are and are not willing to do to set yourself up for success. And the only way, in the work that I have done, because I share some values with you in our
Yeah.
conversations along the way, I've realized um, that the only way to be able to set those boundaries so clearly for yourself um, is to know what your core values are.
Yeah.
And I really am very curious. Um, I want to talk about your time in corporate a little bit more
Totally.
because I've had an experience working in corporate for Ticketmaster. I was with them for quite a while. I think about a little over 8 years. Um, I helped to oversee the club concert division, Ticket Web, which is now rolled up into the Ticketmaster uh, classic company. But you know, in my time there, I never lost my entrepreneurial spirit. I was still coming up with ideas all the time and probably annoying the fuck out of people. Sharon, I hope I can swear on this. Out of people. You know, bringing all these ideas all the time. It never stopped. You know, I wanted to help. I wanted to bring more. I was hungry. I was excited. I saw, you know, areas that needed help where maybe I could be helpful. And I hear that coming from you too. In a corporate environment, however, the environment lends itself to focusing more. Thank you, Sharon. We are not PG-13. All right, so like it lends itself more to, you know, wear one hat when you work in corporate, right?
Yeah.
Maybe two. So I always had this itch, but the spirit of entrepreneurship brought me back to working for myself again. And I'd like you to speak a little bit about that. Um, Being out of corporate and back into entrepreneurship, what has been um, what has been the win for you, and what has been maybe some of your greatest challenges?
Um, Leaving corporate or
Leaving
leaving
corporate,
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
going back into working for yourself, entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is like in the most technical way,
Mm,
this is the first time I've ever worked for myself.
okay.
Like fully. Uh, and in another technical sense, I've never been a full time just only being a musician. Like that's never been my story. And I thought I wanted that, and I realized I don't. I realized, you know, there are certain things that I realized like I didn't want. Like I think I'm a pretty dope lyricist, and I can attain, I can, you know, keep the
I can
attention
confirm it.
of
I can confirm it.
I appreciate it. I can control, you know, sizable crowds in person. I can freestyle. I can do all these things that like, you know, one can, you know, but like my desire to like be the greatest rapper of all time, it's not a thing that I want to like fight for. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that I don't think that I could, because like I said, I feel like I can do whatever I want. But like that's just not my interest. But yeah, I've never like I've always, even when I was in school as an artist, I had school. When I was in the corporate world, you know, doing music, I was in the corporate world. And even like now doing music, like I have 5 mics. So music is it always, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that I get to do music because I want to. I'm so thankful that I've never felt pressured to like, actually people have tried to pressure me like, oh, you got to make the song. Is like, but I don't. Like I really don't. That's not my path. That's not what I care about. And, you know, because of that freedom, I've been able to just craft the way that I want, um, do certain events the way that I want. Um, but you know, it's because it was like, okay, this is actually what it is that I want to build for myself. And when I was in the corporate world,
Mm,
that desire to want to do more for the company when I realized that they will take more, but then still treat me like right here. And they can also just let me go too after giving more than what that line is. And then also like just the reality that I've had to do twice as much to seem like I'm doing the normal thing. The fact that like I'm doing twice as much for that job, but then also like after work like headlining a show and like entertaining fans literally globally and like all kind of stuff, and then be seen like I'm just doing the same exact thing as everyone else. And then on top of that, like all the extracurricular stuff that I would do, like leading the ERG stuff, starting, I'm starting stuff in there. I'm starting the Spades group. I'm starting there was one time at Facebook, I started a whole a TV show called Musicians at Facebook, I found out how to like I found out where the like corporate video people were that like do the videos for like Mark Zuckerberg. And then like after hours, it literally was called After Hours, the show. We would just bring the other musicians like in this little room, light it up, make it look like this really fancy, highly produced, Facebook money type of show. And we would just perform our own music and post it internally and get tens of thousands of views and people wow. Like this is what I was doing on top of the work, on top of all these different things, and still being like, yo, this is not enough. Like, one, to your point, like they hire you to just do this one thing. And as someone that wanted money, I will go do that thing. But I was also like, yo, there's only so much like free tri-tip steak I can eat before I start to question what am I actually doing with my life? And those are the kind of questions that keep me up at night. Not everybody, like you said earlier, right? Like my wife, Rosa, she'll be like, yo, fam, like I'm not trying to be like you. Like, give me a job, give me an assignment, and then when it's over, it's over. Da, 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 and that's beautiful. I sometimes I envy it because, you know, I love going to your question. Like, what I love about not being in corporate and just like doing this thing is I don't even feel like I'm working, and I'm doing so much. Like in a thing, like in a very contained thing, there's like 20 different things to do in that thing, and it's just super exciting, and the highs and lows are so drastic and can
It's
be
so
very
true.
mentally taxing if you're not careful. And I'm just like, what does tomorrow hold?
Totally. Oh my gosh. That's my life. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yeah. It's like threw dirt in my face and I'm like, yes.
Oh my God. I know. Give me more. What's
Come on.
next?
Come on. Oh God.
Oh,
It's
I love
crazy.
it.
It's crazy.
It's crazy in the best kind of way. It's crazy in
Oh
the best
God.
kind of way. I mean, it
I
really
love it.
does speak to your level of resilience as well, right? Like, um, it ain't easy, and it's
No,
definitely not for everybody,
not at all.
and that's okay. And I
Yeah.
actually I wanted to extend a question to the folks who are tuned in today. How many of you are doing something similar where you have two, three, maybe more projects going on simultaneously? Just say hello in the chat with how many projects you're working on, or
Yeah,
raise
Elena,
your hand, or
Elena was like, yeah, I'm a singer, songwriter, musician, producer, and video game developer. I'm like, yes, yes, you savage.
we see you. We see you.
Yeah,
Claire says more than I can manage. Excellent. All right, Claire.
that's right, Claire.
Yeah. I mean, I so appreciate it. And I find personally, I find my challenge, going back to something that you said earlier, Ace, was focus. And I do
Yeah,
I want to talk a little bit about, you know, um, your approach to focus, but with the not but and in tandem with prioritization. How do you
yeah,
do that? Because we can do it all and we can do it all great, but we can't do it all at the same time. It's got to be, we
yeah,
have to be able to switch gears. How do you do that?
yeah. I may or may not be the poster child for this. Because even last week, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I almost accepted a thing that I was like, I'm so capable of doing. Like, let me lead this thing. And Rosa, my wife, was like, absolutely not. And I'm so grateful for her. And I didn't want to listen. And I was, the crying baby, like, but I can do it all. And it's like, but I really can't. You need sometimes, most times, I say all the time, you need like an inner circle of people that know you better than you know yourself and
Yes.
can like keep you in check. Like I surround myself not with yes men, and like I tell my team like, hey, I know I'm the wild vision casting CEO, and I'm living in the future and I'm living in the past, and I might say something and you don't know, does he mean tomorrow, does he mean 5 years from now, da, da, da. So I like beg them, I'm like, tell me what's real,
Yeah.
because for us in our position, like like the vision is real. The dream is real. Like I taste the dream. I go to sleep with the dream. I pet the dream before I go to sleep. I read the dream bedtime stories. I brush the dream's teeth. Like the dream is real, right? Dream
Yes.
is right. It's right there. I see it. I breathe with it, right? And for everyone else, it's like, what is he doing? Right? Like it's just, and the closer you are to that person, and you really allow them, you give them that authority to speak the truth in a way that you can hear it, even if you don't want to hear it. I mean, that's a way to humbly deflate you, right? And like bring you back down and be like, okay, like here's that. So like literally like I wake up, I do devotionals, I read the word, I pray, my wife holds me down, my two daughters, they love me. They don't care about any of this stuff. They're like, yo, I want to go to the park. I want to read this book. I want to eat food, right? So it's like they
Right.
keep me grounded, just remembering like what I'm doing this for. Like truthfully, if I didn't have them, like I'd probably be super lost in the sauce. I'd probably be doing 25 different things simultaneously. Like now I'm doing like seven. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like it's
right.
just,
Seven.
but yeah, no, honestly, like I really try to appoint people really close to me to just keep it real.
Yeah.
And then when they keep it real, I just feel super free to just let loose and be wild. And it's just like the only reason you think I'm grounded is because these people have told me what grounded looks like for like this next 24 hours. And then I'm gone. Then I'm gone again. You know what I mean? And then they gotta find me and bring me down. I'm the balloon. That's just like, come on,
But that's
Ace.
the balance, right? I mean, that really, that's it. Because if you're grounded all the time, you don't have the freedom you need
Totally.
to dream big. And if you're
Totally.
dreaming all the time, you're not tethered down to in able to move forward logistically in reality.
Yeah,
You have to
absolutely.
be able to do, but you got to toggle, right? You
Yeah.
must get the balancing act down. And
LJ,
so
that's so true, because like if you're just in straight dreamland and you're trying to walk on steps that don't exist, there's frustration in that. There's tension in that. There's like, why isn't this happening the way that I see it happening? And it's like, because your reality, while we love it, is not everyone else's reality. And so you require, like, you have to navigate through other people's real worlds in order to reach your own. And that requires that sense of like, okay, this is how you see things. I mean, it takes influence. It takes like, people believing you, right? Like there's, I took a class in business school called Power and Politics, right? Like there's different ways to accumulate influence and power, and there's different ways that people do it, from like being a credible person, being likable, being trustworthy, just being a dictator, like whatever the case may be. But like understanding like, okay, how are you generating power, around whom, what game are you playing, what are the rules of those games, are you going aligned with those rules, are you trying to break those rules? Like understanding all of those different things in real moment, and then having like a sense of like, I truly desire to like day after day just have a stronger EQ. So it's like, there's certain things, again, like I move in a way that I see other people not moving as, right? Like I'm not trying to demand my way or the highway, right? I'm not trying to like fight people in order to get, like, I want to do things in a certain type of way. So that requires me to like, all right, bet, like you don't see what I'm seeing. Like, how can we see the same thing together? What do I have to sacrifice so that we can both get further? Right. Like that, all that stuff. I mean, it's a lot harder than just dream
of
big and
course.
go hard. Yeah.
But I mean, you bring up such a good a point of emotional wellness and intentional collaboration. Like you might
Yeah.
be sacrificing in the short term. You might be sacrificing your vision in the short term for a long game win, which is now
Yes.
you have partners. You've got an inner circle that you trust, that trusts you, right?
Yeah.
And it's never static. It's always
Yeah.
moving. You gotta, like I said, the toggle, you gotta be flexible. And
Totally.
and that is, there is a win in that. It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be, it has to be my way. There are
Yeah.
times for that, I'm sure, and there's certainly times for that for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No,
but
you're right.
I love what you shared. I love that you talked about the importance of inner circle, um, which also translates for me community, uh,
Yep. Yep.
and um, and also, um, you know, it doesn't always have to be my way or the highway. And managers out there and self-managed artists out there who are watching us right now, I'm sure you get it, because every day is a different story out there, and you are required to be flexible in order
Yeah.
to move forward. It's you, eye on the prize, yes.
Yep.
Never lose sight of your dream. Never. However, all the steps to get there, how we get there.
Yeah.
You said it beautifully earlier. There's tons of ways to get there,
Yep. Yep.
right? So,
Absolutely. And
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 we,
it's so true. Like it,
yeah,
the community, it could be, a significant other, it could be kids, close friends, advisors, mentors, there's CEO breakfast groups that, I'm a part of, where, every other Friday we just sit as CEOs, just like a place, especially for artists, um and managers, like if you don't have somebody that you can just straight up let the hair down and just talk real stuff and just get it out in a safe space, like that stuff could eat you alive. Like I just, and there's only, I like to write my thoughts in the music and let it go, but sometimes that's not enough. Like sometimes you really got to get it out in other kind of ways, in healthy ways, right? Otherwise, that's, you don't want to be in a situation where you're like abusing substances and questioning all kind of like what's the meaning and purpose and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. I've seen that. I've been part of that. Like, but
yeah.
there's other ways of doing that, right? And I also think too, just like a last point on that, right? Especially as it relates to artists, and especially as like navigating that path and just being like, yo, it's so hard. Like it is very tempting to think that, oh, like artists have to like struggle and be in some kind of like, you know, life or death existential, like I'm stuck in a bind and I can't get out. Ooh, that's gonna make my music good. You you don't have to. Like that doesn't have to be the case. Like, you can find a struggle in anything. Like literally like the greats, the Michael Jordans of the world or whatever, like they'll take anything. They'll be like, what? LJ said, like, I can't win this golf match, and just use that and like create an antagonist. You can create an antagonist out of any little thing. It doesn't have to like literally affect your life, but what's really pushing you forward, it doesn't have to be at the sacrifice of your mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. So yeah, plus one on community, inner circle, and just like making sure that you're really supported and rooted. That's the only way to have that long-term success.
Oh my gosh, this is so true. And Sharon, I see you there, and we want
We
to make
have
sure.
some amazing questions.
Okay,
And
all
I
right.
don't, I know, we want to carve out time and make sure that the people who are taking the time out of their schedule
Yes.
equally get to ask their questions. And some of them are just some great questions here. Um, Somebody's asked, how do you think about capitalism and corporate music entities when we approach this conversation around mental health? What if organizing collectively for true power than individual success in the music business was a value we prioritized? Would love to have your thoughts.
Mm. Ace, you want to take this?
Me? Yeah. No, totally. I don't overthink it because it's real. Capitalism is real. Um, Corporate music entities, corporate corporations, businesses, even nonprofits, like need money as a means to an end. I think it's a mindset, like, is the money the end or is it the means to an end? As a self individual business, right? Like you yourself need to generate money in order to do certain things. If that's the case, then how are you doing that? With whom are you doing that? For what purpose are you doing that? Like answering those questions in a way that you can sleep at night is really the only thing that matters. But I don't think that capitalism and working collectively with other people have to be at odds. As LJ and I were mentioning before, partnerships are real things, collaborations are real things. I've been in many, many win-win relationship situations in the music industry, in the gaming industry, and just personal life where, we are creating a pie, we generate a pie, and then we separate the pie amongst each other. And that pie is bigger because we came together. And it doesn't have to just be like, okay, well, you pay me and I'm not going to work with you if you don't pay with. That being said, as an independent artist, I've spent a lot of time having to navigate people that only wanted to take advantage of me as the independent artist and was like, oh, I bet I'll help you if you like give me X amount of thousands of dollars a month. I've been there, I've seen that. I just didn't work with 99% of them. But I've worked with plenty of other folks, and the ones that I have worked with in win-win situations, I still work with them to this day because we're winning together. So, and they know it, I know it. I have no qualms of that's just me though. I'm not trying to like squeeze the juice out of every single person that I meet for every single penny that I got. And that's extreme capitalism, but there is a collective capitalism strategy that you can run as well. I think it's less about like how the world does things and more about like how do you want to do it and just create those boundaries, create those relationships. Feel free to say no to certain things that don't, go with your vibe and keep it going.
I love that, Ace, and it speaks to again like being able to define success for yourself, right? Like, I when I hear this question, I really think of systems, and I work in workplace culture and coaching, and when I think of systems in the context of this question, I think of transactionalism,
Mm,
uh, right? So transactional business versus relationship driven business. Those are two different types of business. They both
yeah.
contribute to the bottom line. Which one do you want? Which one do you want to align with others? Who lives in that school of transactionalism? Who lives in the relationship driven school, right? And obviously, if it's not driving the bottom line, it's not a business. So then we a hobby section, right? But
Which
if
is
we're
fine.
which is totally fine. I'm an artist and I don't make a living doing it. I do it on the side for joy as well. So like it, but the question is how might you define success for yourself and then go and find your people.
Yeah.
And it will make work so much more fun.
We have another question. How do you manage and organize your projects, especially for those of us who may not have a team? Are there structures, practices, programs that you'd recommend for project management? And that obviously plays a lot into stress and mental health and feeling that you can actually achieve your goals. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, that's a fun question. I'm very much a Excel spreadsheet person. So I live in it. I like my first job, like every experience has paved this way to where I'm at right now. But like my first job, fresh out of college, never had a real job before, and this was a nonprofit education organization. And I was asked to make a spreadsheet, and the first thing that I did was like color code the cells, like before like actually organizing the information. And like the person, the person was like, I much care more about the information than the coloring of the cells. But I'm an artist. I'm a creative. I'm like, it has to look prettier. I can't think. I can't think. So like I use Excels and they're color coded and they're beautiful. And like the sync licensing org that I work with, they're like, I'm one of their favorite artists to work with because I'm organized and like it all makes sense and and it's colorful. But I start with color. But yeah, that's how I do it. And I'm very much like it's scheduled, it's on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist to me. And that's like hands down, anyone that works with me knows it's a spreadsheet, it's a calendar invite. And yeah, that's how I move predominantly.
Yeah, for me, real quick, I'm a bullet journal person,
Ooh.
and it's a very simple system. I like to draw, so I'll like sketch and be creative, and and use markers. I like color too. I love your stories. I would do that too. And yeah, but the system itself is just it's like it's tasks, events, and notes. That's pretty much it. And then whatever you don't get to, you draw an arrow and you move it to the next day. And you just it just helps keep me accountable. And like Ace, I live and die by my calendar. So I use Google Calendar, and I do separate my personal from my work. But then I also have a shared component where I just have a single calendar that I work off of that feeds both into one. But yeah, calendaring, big fan.
Totally.
Yeah.
And as far as like, as a musician, right, thinking about like, okay, it's time to launch an album, like all the different steps. Like no one taught me the steps. So I had to first drop an album, then learn, wow, I could have done this. I could have did this. Man, I forgot to do that. Da, da, da. And then I would drop the second album. It's like, man, that went well. This I forgot. Da, da, da. And so over time, like the Excel got more detailed. It was more like now I have a multi-column spreadsheet where it's like, okay, as soon as you drop the album, like are the lyrics copyrighted? Do you have the rights to the production? Do you have your collab agreement? Is it in Luminate? Is it right? Like all the things, boom, boom, boom. What's the IRC number, the UPC, did you send it to SoundCloud? Like it's all boom, boom, boom. And it's just yes, no, in progress, like whatever the case. So it's like, don't stress yourself out that you don't have all the things, really use your experience. And of course, like learn from others. But I would say experience is the best learner as far as like knowing what to care about and what not to care about. Because you can overthink this stuff and be overwhelmed by all the stuff that you don't know. Just do what you know, and you'll learn more as you go. Don't be afraid to
I
start
love
though.
that. Oh my God, dropping knowledge. That just that reminds me of one thing I like to do, which is at the end of a project, I like to ask myself, what did I learn here? And what's one thing I can move forward into the next project that I wasn't doing before? So that's it. And like that's exactly what you're saying is like you just build on it, right? Over time, you build your experience. I love that.
Totally.
And the other thing about it can be as simple as a Excel spreadsheet. We have apps and we have all these things coming at us, and it can actually mentally overcomplicate things.
Yeah,
when it can
ironically.
just be simple and build it out in your own fashion. I know we're close on time, so I want to at least get these other couple of questions.
Let's do it.
We have someone here, my friend who's a musician and just finished social work school to become a therapist, was just sharing an excerpt from a research paper he did on how musician unions are important to mental health as narratives around individual resilience. Feel like people are starting to realize this, but it's not super convenient for the bosses in the music business. Thoughts?
I yeah, Sharon, do you have thoughts? You were about to say something.
I think I think we all need to find our own path. I find my sanity through advocacy, but that's the next question here. So having a voice and helping creatives to be rewarded for their hard work and efforts, that gives me satisfaction. I don't know that there's one clear way in which to do this, but I do think people are now I hate to say it, but we've gone through the pandemic and mental health has been such at the forefront. I think we're all more cognizant of prioritizing our time with our families or work boundaries. I think we're getting at that point where it's getting a little lost again, so we have to be very careful on navigating that. But I do think that companies are being more cognizant of it. But those of us who aren't at companies, through having community around us and our team of allies, help when we don't have a corporate place from which to draw these resources from. And quite honestly, LJ, and what you do and CoMuse, I mean, you haven't really touched on that. You have any number of different ways in which to help people in this space. So, I do see more entities like what you offer filling this space and bringing it to companies or individuals.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, it's a really good time for awareness, as we are coming out of the pandemic and getting back into real life. And and having, exchanges of energy, physical exchanges of energy again, and building community that way. Because that's a real thing to lending towards improved mental health. It is so important to remember that what we do as artists, self-managed artists, management, and anybody who's an entrepreneur, it is by definition very lonely. It can be very lonely. And so in order to protect our mental health, we are responsible and need to hold ourselves accountable for learning how to get better at asking for help, which historically I've been really shitty at. And one of the reasons why I started this community is because I am actively practicing being in community with people. I am actively practicing being open to receiving help. And that doesn't even mean anything more than just, hey, LJ, how's your day? And then actually sharing how my day is really going rather than, I'm fine. And, moving on. So there is improved mental health in genuine connection in community. But the major part of it is us realizing that we have to show up for it. And that means being a little vulnerable sometimes. And that's not always the most comfortable thing. So I am currently and have been, and it's probably a life practice, will continue to be in practice of being vulnerable, which means that I show up as myself. And you know what? Everybody else is taken. That's what they tell me. So it might as well be me. And so we do that at CoMuse. We practice that in safe spaces, and it's just the most beautiful experience, truly. So
I would be remiss in saying, because I do work a lot with the Recording Academy, Music Cares, the resources that they have are incredible, and that can range anything from and this can be for mental health, but also everything from addiction, or they have such a wide variety of resources available, and you don't have to be a member to unlock them. I'm always telling people you don't have to be a member of the Recording Academy to use Music Cares, and it really is such an incredible part of what they do. And yeah, everybody focuses on the Grammy Awards. It's like it's an organization that every other day of the year they're deep in the trenches of trying to make creatives' lives better.
100%.
And people need to just be open to the other things that they can offer. I got somebody who's obviously in the trenches on advocacy like I am, and they're like, people should check out the work of the Union of Musicians and Allied Workers, who are mounting a huge fight to push for Spotify to pay for fair streaming rates, which certainly money would be a great thing for creatives to be rewarded with. And I am going to just quickly drop that into the chat because I want people to know and read about that, and I think it's really important. And we have shared this within our when it was announced, we are very close with Jamal Bowman, who is a co-sponsor of this bill, and when he launched this, we were very vocal in its existence and highlighted it to our community. So thank you, anonymous attendee, who put that forward. I think that's all of the questions in the Q&A. If there's anybody else who wants to say something, feel free to drop it into the chat. Is there anything else that you want to leave people with?
I would just love to have you, Ace, share maybe just one takeaway, if there's anything that you really want to leave here for our viewers, that maybe something that you wish you would have known when you were getting started in your career. Not that people are starting in their careers here, but just something that you have arrived at that might benefit others. What would that be?
I think right now in this moment, the thing that I would tell myself growing up, something that I've learned just in hindsight, but something that would have maybe comforted me, or maybe I would have been too stubborn to actually receive it. It's just every single moment that I've gone through matters, and I should cherish it, and it's really gonna benefit me in the future. And like would that have made sense when I was sleeping on the floor? Probably not. Would that have made sense when I was, working the job that I was like, this makes no sense. Like I'm trying to do music, like probably not. But whatever you're going through currently, though you might not be at your destination, the current situation that you're in matters for your journey. And instead of trying to rush yourself out of it, really understand what is it that you have to learn from it. So that when you pass that chapter, you'll be like, wow, I regret nothing.
Very cool. Well, thank you both for being here and sharing your wealth of experience and knowledge and being so open, which isn't always something that we get. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. I would be remiss of myself not sharing that we are going to, on June 27th, have a webinar with Ramped, which is the recording artists and music professionals with disabilities, and that's focusing on navigating neurodivergence and disability in the music industry. So we're very supportive of them and their work and want to help them in their mission also. But I want to thank you guys for being here and everybody who's in the audience for taking time to look after themselves and the others around them, and enjoy the rest of your day. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.